Hello drummers, today I'd like to talk about fast comping. I had a segment on fast jazz where I talked about the push-pull, the throw bounce, the drop catch, the method by which you're able to get 3 bounces with one movement for playing at a fast tempo. So now what we want to do is we want to talk about how to add the snare drum to this so that we can learn how to play at a faster tempo and still be able to comp. Now that term comp is a made-up word. It's really 2 words, complementary and accompaniment, kind of squished together to be comping. Okay, so basically complementary, different snare drum rhythms that you play against the ride. So if we're playing a really fast ride pattern, we're really tossing our hand down on beats 2 and 4. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And then letting it bounce 3 times at a straight 8th note feel. Because remember, fast jazz is really not based on 8th note triplets. It's just on 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. It's just straight 8s. You can't do the triplet thing at a really fast tempo. So if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, then this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can clearly see from my hand that I'm just throwing it down and catching it. So push pull, push pull, push pull, push pull, daga-ding, 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 daga-ding. So what I want to do is I want to learn how to play the left hand when I'm tossing the stick down on 2 and 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Not such a big deal because I'm throwing the snare drum stroke down at the same time I am the ride. But now trying to put it on 1 and 3 is a little more challenging because that's on the pull stroke. And I'll demonstrate that slightly slower. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you really can play on 2 and 4 or 1 and 3 or actually all 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that works out pretty good. Now, what I did to get really comfortable and still be able to get the stick to bounce and not feel like I wanted to stroke out those notes is I started just playing the ride cymbal on 2 and 4, kind of like the hi-hat, something like this. 1, 2, 3. Knowing that I'm going to be just throwing my hand down on 2 and 4, it was important to be able to be comfortable just stroking the 2 and the 4. And by doing that, I started adding the snare drum on 2 and 4, literally quarter notes on 2 and 4, and then 1 and 3, trying not to let that disturb the ride cymbal stroke, which comes on 2 and 4. So by doing the just back beats, or 2 and 4 on the ride, starting with the snare on 2 and 4, and then moving the snare on 1 and 3, and then back and forth, and then eventually all 4 quarter notes, against just playing 2 and 4, then when I threw and opened up my hand and got the 3 bounces per 1 movement, then my left hand didn't feel so awkward moving when the hand was catching versus when it was throwing or when it was rebounding. And we'll get into the rebound portion. So here's an example of just 2 and 4, starting with the snare on 2 and 4, continuing on 2 and 4 on the ride with the hi-hat, and moving the snare to 1 and 3, and then eventually quarter notes. And then from there I'll add the full ride stroke with 2 and 4, 1 and 3, and quarter notes. So you can see how this process can kind of help you feel when your right hand needs to make a movement to the ride cymbal while the left hand is free to move around rhythmically. So here we go. So if you practice this process, you'll be able to develop the ability of always having your hand just throw on 2 and 4 and getting at least the quarter note movements to happen. So we'll start with that, and then in the next segment on fast jazz comping, I'm going to show you how to play offbeat patterns with a similar process, and then we'll do combinations of on and offbeat patterns on the snare drum as comping ideas against this fast jazz ride pattern. So for now, try that and see how far you get.